Most YouTube tutorials on loops are terrible. Let me tell you why. So it's not because the content itself is bad, it's because the content isn't clear. Let me show you. So if we go to YouTube and look for loops in JavaScript, we see a ton of content. And none of this content is bad, it just all looks the same. So I decided I'll just come up with a way that explains exactly what you need to know about a loop, as well as how to use one. It's a really complex method that I'm really pretty proud of figuring out myself, and I think you'll find that it's pretty awesome. Balls. We're going to learn loops using balls. So if we think about loops, loops is a concept in programming that we use to do a repeated action. The action I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one of these balls, look at it, and then put it outside. So if we were to visualize this with a loop, we're going to say, hey, go inside of this container, grab a ball, inspect it, put it down. Go inside of this container, inspect the ball, put it down. And we're going to keep on doing this until there's nothing left in our container. Just like a loop, once your container is empty, the loop stops. In other programming languages is using a traditional for loop. So a traditional for loop here has an index that you have to start at 0. And as long as that index is less than the size of your wooden container, it'll keep doing the loop. Then at the end of the loop, we have to increment it by 1. So walking through this example, if I wanted to print out the first element inside of this container or this array, I would go ahead and give it the index. If we run through the logic here, index starts at 0. So if I print what is at the 0th index or the first element inside of the wooden bowl, it'll be our red ball. After it completes this code, it'll run this code. This code is going to increment index by 1. So the next time our loop runs, index is going to be 1. Now this code here in the middle, you might notice it says, as long as index is less than the size of our bowl. So the size of our bowl is going to be the size of however many things are in it. In this case, 3. So as long as this number, index, is less than the size of it, it'll keep running our loop. This is how we can guarantee that our loop will go throughout the entire thing until it finishes at the end. Same example, if we were to write the code for the action we did where we checked out each ball inside of our wooden container, we can use what is known as a for loop. A for loop is going to be the word for, open close parentheses, and then here we're going to say an individual item inside of that container. So for example, inside of the wooden bowl, we're going to say let every ball of the wooden container, the wooden bowl. The word ball is going to refer to one of these balls as we go through it. And let's just say we want to console.log ball every time we do this. The first time we go through this loop, it looks for the first thing inside of the wooden bowl, which would be the red ball. Next time, it goes through the exact same thing. It looks and it finds the green ball. And so on until we finish up with the blue ball. Once we finish with the blue ball, there's nothing left inside of our container. That's where the loop will stop. Another way we can use a for loop is with more complex data. So right here, I have some really solid financial information that'll totally make me some money. I'm going to use a for loop to go over this and print out the price of every stock tip I got. So I can go ahead and write a for loop, and I'll say let every stock of stock data and then inside of here, this word stock is going to represent a single object inside of my loop. So if I want to print out the price, I can say console.log stock.price. This will get me the value of its price. And when I save my code and run it, we can see that I've made millions of dollars.
You can also think about a loop as kind of like the process of you reading a book. So for example, while this book still has pages that I haven't read, I'm going to keep flipping through it. That's pretty much like what a loop is doing. A loop is going to complete all of the pages in this book until you finish the book. For a while loop, we can always think about a hose. A garden hose is either on or off. When I pull this trigger, it's going to turn the water on. So as long as the trigger is pulled, while the trigger is pulled, water will come on. The moment the trigger is not pulled, water will stop. However, if you just keep holding it down, it'll run forever, or until I have a really expensive water bill.
Is on, we can use what is known as a while loop. A while loop is different than a for loop because a while loop will run as long as whatever is inside of these parentheses is true. Like our example, as long as the water is on, let's just say we can say the ground is getting wet. Now this code will run forever until there's a condition that makes water is on not true. The problem here is there's nothing that will stop water is on or change it from being true to false. So this is known as an infinite loop.
You can also think of a while loop as something that is going on until it doesn't go on anymore. Like for example, while it is hot out here, don't go outside. True.
That while loop example, we have another one here. The weather outside is 60 degrees, and we're going to run this code as long as the weather is less than 90. Once the weather is less than 90, we'll go ahead and say it's pretty nice out here and that the temperature is whatever number it is at that point. After that, we'll go ahead and increase the temperature. Now this line of code will be incremental, and so it'll keep increasing 60 by 10 until this loop stops. So when we run this loop, you'll notice it prints it out 3 times. The first time it prints it out, it is 60. Is 60 less than 90? True. Prints out the code, runs it one more time. Is 70 now, because we added 10, less than 90? True. It runs this code, adds 10 again, and it keeps doing this until we get to 90. Is 90 less than 90? False. 90 is equal to 90. So that will stop our loop.
But real talk, loops are pretty weird and honestly kind of intimidating. Hopefully with these examples, you understand what is going on with a loop and when you would use a loop. The best way to get better at loops though, is to practice them over and over. Take the information that I gave you, maybe change it up. put some cool dog pictures in there, maybe talk about your favorite restaurant, and just change up the data that you're looping over. Keep running the code and see where it either goes wrong or it goes right. As always, if you like this video, feel free to go ahead and give me a like. Comment down below if you have any thoughts or suggestions on any other videos you'd like to see. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.